In today's video, we talk about comparison operators, programming on mobile devices, and we tackle day 3 of the 21-day Lighthouse Labs coding challenge. So I thought I'd mention that after clicking on challenge, you can scroll down and you'll notice that there's a discuss button just below the coding text area. Going through this, you can see what other people are talking about, any issues that they have dealt with, and some possible solutions too as well. So this brings me to my next discovery, where I found an issue that somebody else was having that I actually experienced myself. Now this affects iOS devices, and it has something to do with smart punctuation. It's those quotes, or rather these curly braces, that it adds in just for an aesthetic look. The problem with that is that your code doesn't know that these quotes are the contents inside of them are strings. And so to correct this, you actually have to turn off smart punctuation by going to Settings, General, Keyboard, then turning off smart punctuation by toggling the switch. In day 1, if you solved the problem by using if statements, one of the things that we had to do was use comparison operators. Single equals is not a comparison operator, but double equals and triple equals are. Now, what are the difference? So take a look at this. In the first line, we're taking a string and comparing it to a number using the double equals. This results in being true, even though one's a string and one's a number. In the second line, we're actually taking a string and a number and comparing them to each other using the triple equals. And this results in being a false. And that's because on the left side, it's a string, and on the right side, it's a number. So does a string and a string equal each other if we use the triple equals? Yes, it does. So you can see why there might be a reason for using triple equals versus double equals. And when you're starting off programming, I just recommend using triple equals all the time. So let's go ahead and solve the third challenge. The scenario is securing the vote. It looks like you got a hold of your campaign for now. So you've been asked to turn your attention to making sure the election infrastructure is ready to go. Codeville County is using a new e-voting platform to make elections simpler and more secure. We need to test out the software to make sure it's working correctly before election day. The instructions are, when a resident casts their vote, the system will be passed the name of the candidate they voted for and the current standing. It will then update the standing, adding the new vote to the count. To test the system, we'll need to complete the function castVote that takes the name of the candidate and an array of tallied votes. The function should return an array with the updated standings. We will be testing the system with 3 possible candidates: Tim, Sally, and Beth. Each item in the vote array represents a number of votes for that particular candidate. The first item in the array are the votes for Tim. The second item in the array are the votes for Sally. And the third item in the array are the votes for Beth. For example, in this array, 0, 2, and 1, there are 0 votes for Tim, 2 votes for Sally, and 1 vote for Beth. So looking at the example, what's passed first is Sally, so a vote is being cast for Sally, and the votes currently standing are 0 for Tim, 2 for Sally, 1 for Beth. Now, everybody but Sally stays the same, and Sally, instead of having 2, gets 3, and so we return that updated array. In the second example, it's pretty much the same. We're passing over Tim. Tim currently has 1, Sally has 1, and Beth has 2. And I'd like to point out the output is actually incorrect here because Beth seems like she has lost 1 vote, and nowhere in that scenario is that functionality described. So I'd ignore this particular example for now. This is me solving the day 3 challenge. You'll notice that I opted to use the switch statement opposed to if statements, but you could have easily solved this challenge with if statements. You'll notice that I utilize copying and pasting a lot, and this is just so that I don't accidentally spell things incorrectly. It also saves a lot of typing, so the less keystrokes, the faster you get the solution done. I was initially modifying the votes array. That's not best practice just because when you create a function, you want to do all your modifications inside the function. You don't want to modify items outside of your function. So that's why I create a new variable array, and I use this in my code. I modify the votes in that array and then I return it, never modifying the votes array that was sent to us in the first place. And there you have it, a solution for the day 3 challenge of the 21-day challenge presented by Lighthouse Labs. Once again, I'm going to take all my code, throw it in my GitHub repo, link down below. Hope you enjoyed this video. Till tomorrow.